So I achieved financial freedom in my late 20s, but had I known the advice in this video, I probably would have gotten there much earlier. So if I were to start over, these are the 7 lessons I wish I could tell my younger self. Starting with the first lesson, and that's to find your golden circle. And the best way to explain what that is to kind of share with you how I discovered mine. So basically, I didn't grow up with money. Right? My parents immigrated to the US and they worked minimum wage at factories and restaurants for most of their lives. And we kind of lived the typical penny pinching lifestyle where we had drawers full of coupons. I wore the same pair of Payless shoes until they ripped. And my mom would buy me extra large clothes even though I wore a small because she said I would grow into them. And really all these experiences shaped my perspective on money. But it also taught me my golden circle. So Simon Sinek basically created this concept, and he uses it to explain how some people achieve success while others don't. He says many people go through life doing things without actually knowing why they're doing them, right? Like they might climb the corporate ladder without questioning if that's what they want or if that's what society tells them to want. Or they might choose a college major based on how much they can earn rather than actually being interested in it. But nearly everyone I know who has achieved financial freedom or some type of success did it with extreme intent. Not only did they have that specific goal in mind of becoming successful, but they also relied on their golden circle. So the golden circle basically consists of 3 circles inside one another. What, how, and why you want to achieve X, Y, and Z. And don't get me wrong, right? Knowing what and how to achieve financial freedom, for example, is important, but that only comes secondary after you have an answer to why you want it. Like if you think you're somehow magically just gonna wake up rich one day, right, by accident, well, sorry to burst your bubble, but it's not gonna happen. Your why creates a thread between your core values and why you wanna be rich. Not just because you should or someone told you to do that, but because you have a deeper meaning to do so. Like personally for me, my why is my parents. My parents left everyone and everything they knew to come to the US to give their children a better life, right? Like when they got paid, they didn't use the money to buy anything lavish for themselves. They used nearly everything on us. So that's why my why is to give my parents and my family a life that they never had. You need to find your golden circle so you have something deeper to hold you accountable and to motivate you to keep pushing on and on even when you feel like quitting. The next lesson is something that I wish someone had told me before I started working in my corporate job, like maybe even before I went to college. So I don't know if you can tell, but I grew up in a traditional Chinese family. Okay, so my parents expected me to work hard, to go to college, and to get a good job so I could make a lot of money. And that's pretty much all I knew, right? Good job equals a lot of money. So despite English not being my first language, I was able to hustle my way into Vanderbilt University and then started working on Wall Street. But honestly, after working there for 6 months, something happened to me that taught me this second lesson. Like I remember when I was at work, every day without fail, after lunch, I would pass this person in the hall, and we'll just call him John, for example. I was pretty friendly with John. He was one of those like really older guys who would always smile and seem really happy and crack jokes. We always exchanged small talk, nothing too serious. But I always thought of John as this model employee that every company wanted to hire. But then one day he just stopped showing up to work. And at first I didn't think too much about it, right? I just thought he went on vacation, an extended vacation. But then a week went by, and then a month went by, and then several months, and still nothing. And to this day, I still have no idea what happened to John, right? He could have quit, he could have been fired, but what was really weird was that nothing changed at work. Everything was exactly the same. And I knew in the back of my head that a company isn't gonna just stop running just because someone isn't there anymore. But I don't know why, but it just felt really, really weird to witness this firsthand. That someone you've seen and you've interacted with every single day for months, right, just disappeared and nothing changed. And that's when the second lesson clicked. No matter where you work, no matter how good your job is, we are all cogs in the machine. We are all replaceable, every single one of us. You're only as good as the hours of life that you can give to the company. Once you can't give more hours or you want to give fewer hours, they can find someone else who can. And that's when I had a thought. If you're an employee in someone's business, then you're just helping them build their business. The issue is businesses are designed to make a profit for whoever started them or whoever's in charge. They're not designed to make their workers, their employees, rich. So if you want to achieve financial freedom, you need to stop being a cog in a machine and instead build your own machine. And at the time, it was fantastic that I realized this. But admittedly, I had no idea what business or what machine I wanted to start. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it was a super easy, straightforward path to get where I am today, because it wasn't. But that brings me to the third lesson. Like many of you watching right now, I've always wanted to be my own boss. But I was never confident enough in the business ideas that I had. Like I always wondered if this was the right one that I was working on and I was thinking. And I thought the worst thing that I could ever do was just waste my time choosing the wrong idea. So the next lesson is how to pick the right business idea to start. And I use this concept called the hedgehog concept. So first, you want to draw 3 circles on a piece of paper. Right, in the first circle, you want to write down the things that you enjoy doing. Now, you don't have to be super passionate about that thing, but you have to somewhat enjoy doing it. For me, I really enjoy gamifying personal finances. And I saw it like a type of video game, right? Trying to find the best way to game the system and optimize my money. And also, I love teaching and helping my friends with all that stuff too. In the next circle, you have to write down the things that you're good at. You don't need to be a world expert on that topic, you just need to know more than the average person. Like for me, I studied economics and I worked on Wall Street, so I knew a bit more about finances than the average person. And next, the third circle, write down something that people actually want. For me, I know we have a major problem in the US with financial literacy, and I know people want to get better with their money. Like no one is out here thinking, oh, I wish I was even worse off, I was in more credit card debt. So the hedgehog concept is like this. Whatever falls on where the 3 circles touch, those are the things that you want to explore with your business. You see, the problem with most people and why a lot of businesses or side hustles fail is that they only focus on 1 or 2 of these circles when deciding what side hustle to start. If you choose something just because you're curious about it, but you're making pennies on the dollar, you're eventually gonna hate it because you can't survive off of that. Or if you pick something that you know a lot about, but no one is really interested in, then you're just gonna be broke. Or if you choose a business that makes a ton of money, that's great, but it makes you miserable every day, you're not gonna be able to sustain it and scale it to what you need it to become. And that's how I decided to make educational financial content on YouTube. And over time, I was able to grow that into a successful media business. But if I had to start from scratch, I probably wouldn't start with videos because it takes a lot of time to script, film, and edit them. Instead, I'd start with a newsletter. It's a lot less work to start and you can scale and monetize pretty quickly. Like studies show, email marketing typically generates $36 for every dollar you spend. But with OmniSend, which is today's sponsor, their users see $73 in return for every dollar spent, which is twice the industry average. OmniSend is an all-in-one email marketing platform for people looking to start or grow their business. And I've only recently realized the power of email marketing. Like it's one of the few ways you can actually have a relationship with your subscribers. Like YouTube is great and all, but technically they are the ones who own the relationships. Like YouTube can shut down tomorrow and I'll have no way of reaching you. Whereas with my newsletter, I can still send you updates. What I love about OmniSend is it has everything you need in one place to start and scale your newsletter business. From email marketing, pop-up forms, segmentation, all the way to push notifications. Whether you want to start a newsletter about finance, productivity, art, or design, OmniSend has the tools you need. And the best part is you can start your newsletter for free. And it's not a limited trial either, it's actually free. And what's really powerful is they have an award-winning 24/7 customer support team who will reply to you in less than 3 minutes. So whether you're just starting out or looking to grow your business, you'll always have the help you need. Check out the link below to try OmniSend for free. Clicking that link supports the channel, but more importantly, can be the next step you need if you're serious about achieving financial freedom. It doesn't hurt to give it a try. So one of the most important things that I've picked up after spending an ungodly amount of time coming up with a successful business idea, that brings me to my next lesson. Something I wish I started earlier was building the right skills to make the next step easier. And I want to make this clear. The skills and the mindsets that you need to be a great employee or great worker versus what you need to get rich are very different. And this is all built by design. And trust me, this isn't some woo-woo conspiracy nonsense. Just bear with me for a couple seconds. Okay, so the education system as we know it today is actually relatively new. It's about 200 or so years old. It was created during the Industrial Revolution and was modeled off this concept of factory schools from what we know as Germany today. You see, the reason is that the Industrial Revolution created jobs that never existed before. Prior to this, people mostly worked as artisans and farmers who worked out of their own homes. right? They set their own hours, and they were pretty much their own bosses. So when factories were created and factories needed workers, the transition to becoming a factory worker wasn't easy. All of a sudden, you had to report to a boss, you had to be at work on time, and you were no longer in control. And that's why the US built factory schools to produce compliant, timely, and literate workers who pretty much kept their heads down and avoided making mistakes and failures. In other words, a perfect employee. But unfortunately, these are also the complete opposite traits and skills you need if you want to get rich. So knowing this, I worked really hard to reprogram myself. And the way I did this was to consume the right educational content. And I know consuming educational content isn't always fun, right? Learning is always the thing that gets deprioritized because there is always other things that's going on in life. But if you really want to achieve financial freedom, this is something you really need to go out of your way to do. And here are some of the things that I did that you might find really helpful. For example, before I went to sleep, I read books like The Lean Startup, right? The Millionaire Fast Lane, The Hard Things About Hard Things. During my 3-hour round trip commute or when I was working out at the gym, I would put on podcasts like How I Built This and My First Million. My goal was essentially to literally surround myself with this new knowledge and information so I could understand how the wealthy thought, I understood their mindset, and also how they perceived the world. Growing up, I didn't know any super wealthy people, and so it's not like I could ask them for help or advice or try to understand what they're thinking. And surrounding myself and my information and the knowledge I was consuming was the next best way to do that. You see, traditional schools teach really important concepts and ideas that you do need in life, right? Like math and English and whatever. But they're also missing a lot of things you need to actually build wealth. How to manage your money and how to invest, how to run a business. These are all some of the most core skills and mindsets that you need to learn to achieve financial freedom. But the truth is, learning all these new skills and mindsets and knowing what business you should build, that's not enough. You see, one of the biggest mistakes I made, and that if I had done this differently, I probably would have achieved financial freedom a lot sooner, is this next lesson. Regardless of what business or side hustle you decide to start, whether it's building a YouTube channel, an online store, a SaaS product, everything ultimately starts with an idea. Like a seed in the ground. But if you don't take action, if you don't water it, if you don't care for it or put in the work, then the seed will always just remain a seed. An idea without action is just an idea. The reality is there are countless people in your exact position right now who want to become millionaires, who want to achieve financial freedom, who all have fantastic business ideas, but 95% of them won't take any action. Or they'll make up an excuse that right now isn't a good time to start that idea. But at the same time, there are going to be people who are less capable of you, who are less skilled, with less experience, who are less smart, less educated, who are putting in the effort, who are taking the first step. They're watering the seed, they're watching it sprout, they're watching it grow, and they're building up the business. And they're making a lot of money from doing it. And it's all because they took action. But at the same time, a mistake that many people make, including myself, is taking too much action. Like I remember I came up with so many business ideas and side hustles that I basically tried them all. I tried everything, right? I tried to do everything all at once. And I was everywhere, but I had zero focus, meaning I never took any real focused action. I was just doing something to make my brain feel good, to feel productive. And in retrospect, I realized that I did this because I was scared. I was too afraid to go deep into one area because I was scared of failing or being rejected, which is kind of why I took 100 small bets across a bunch of things, thinking that one of them will succeed. And while it doesn't seem like it, giving just 2% effort to 50 different side hustles or business ideas is pretty much the same thing as not taking any action at all. In my head, I thought I was crushing it, but I was just running around doing a bunch of D+ work that never amounted to anything. So if you want to achieve financial freedom, you need to really focus on one thing and put in the work. Otherwise, in 5 years, you're gonna find yourself in the exact same spot as you are in today. Meanwhile, someone who is way less capable than you, who isn't as smart as you, will be 5 years ahead. And it's all because they took focused action. But look, I understand the realities of life, right? You have a busy schedule. Maybe you have work, maybe you have school. It's hard to find time to work on a side hustle or a business. But that's what brings me to the next lesson. So many of my friends, and frankly a lot of people, they come up to me and tell me that they hate their jobs, that their bosses treat them terribly, and that they want to quit and start their own side hustle or their business. And if I feel like they're actually asking for advice rather than just venting about how much they hate their job, this is what I tell them. I ask them, okay, so how much time do you have to dedicate to this side hustle or this business? And 90% of them will say, well, I don't have any time. I'm busy with work. And that's fine. That's a very valid reason, right? But this is what I tell them. Look, the only way you can do this, if you're serious about it, is you either spend your time or you spend your money to work on this. If you don't have any time, then you have to use money. And then they'll be taken aback, right? They'll immediately say they don't want to spend any money on this. And I think this is really a self-limiting idea, because something many people don't realize is that there is always a trade-off with any decision you make, a fee that you have to pay in order to get something in return. In this case, that fee is either time or money. And most people don't want to spend either resources to build their wealth or to quit their jobs. But at the same time, they're spending extra hours after work to chill and watch a movie, to hang out with friends, to eat out at a restaurant, or to go to the bars. And when it comes to actually investing their time or money in something that could change their lives to help them build wealth, they don't want to. They don't want to invest in themselves. They don't want to invest in education or a course. They don't want to invest in hiring someone to help with their business or their side hustle. But this is a trade-off every single entrepreneur who isn't a trust fund baby and didn't grow up with money, every single entrepreneur has to go through. So is the pain of not being wealthy, the pain of feeling like a cog in a machine, the pain of being an employee, greater than the pain of trading your time or your money to escape it? And it might not be, right? And in that case, then that's fine, just keep doing you. But if you're having these feelings now, I guarantee you it's not gonna go away. It will always keep on coming back. Whether that's in 1 year, in 3 years, or in 5. The only difference is in 5 years, you'll be 5 years older whether you started your business or not. And I know this for a fact because that's how I felt. The feeling of wanting to escape, to achieve financial freedom, it doesn't go away. It keeps on coming back. Now, 2 books that really got me more comfortable with this time-money trade-off thing in order to build wealth. One is called The Almanac, which basically says you should first determine your hourly rate, or how much you get paid an hour, whether that's $15 an hour or $30 an hour. And The Almanac says that if you can hire someone to do the work for you for less than your hourly rate, you should, because your 1 hour of time is worth more than that. The second book is called Who, Not How. And this book talks about how you should use the experiences and expertise of others to achieve things more quickly and effectively. Like before, I would start thinking, okay, I'm just gonna do everything myself, right? I'm gonna spend a week trying to learn this new thing instead of paying someone else to do it so I can save some money. But that mindset of saving money at the cost of your time doesn't really work if you want to achieve financial freedom. So this brings me to the next lesson. So many people, right, they start walking down the path of building their own side hustle, their own business, trying to achieve financial freedom, but then they stop. They don't see results immediately, and then they think, this is never gonna work. They start making up excuses, thinking, right now isn't a good time. I'll just start again someday, right, someday in the future. But you need to realize that you're never gonna get rich if you keep saying someday. Because that word is like a get out of jail free card. People use it thinking that their future self will be better than their current self. But that's not true. Your future self only gets better if you start taking action today. You're always gonna be busy, right? There will always be something else that gets in the way. But we need to remind ourselves that if this is important enough for us, if our golden circle, if our why is strong enough, then we will make time for this and we'll keep going. So in the book, The Slight Edge, Jeff Olson says that our small habits and actions that we take every day will ultimately decide where we get to in life and whether we will fail or succeed. It might not feel like you're making much progress from one day to the next day, and it might not feel like you're losing out on much if you don't show up for your side hustle today, or if you don't work on it tomorrow or the day after. But as you keep missing those days and making excuses, you will keep making zero progress. But if you commit to showing up every single day, 1 year from now, you will be in a completely different place. Blocking just 10, 20, or 30 minutes on your calendar each day can make all the difference, because tiny action and progress creates motivation. And soon you're gonna have completed a bunch of tasks that eventually lead to your goal. The trick is do the first small thing to get to the next thing. And if I think back to my entrepreneurial journey, I can say with 100% certainty that this is true. So during my first 6 to 7 months on YouTube, nothing really happened, right? It was growing, but it wasn't anything significant. I was grinding, I was putting in the work every single day. But it was what happened near the end of the year when everything started to change and I began seeing the payoff from these small actions, right? My channel started taking off, my business grew, and I was finally able to quit my job. But it was all because of those small, repeated, consistent steps that I took every single day. So if you want to achieve financial freedom, you need to be patient and play the long game. You're not going to get the results overnight, okay? It's the small, consistent efforts that you put in every day that'll give you the big payoff in the future. Keep going, keep pushing, and if you ever feel like you want to quit or you want to give up, you need to remind yourself of your why. Which leads me to something you've got to start accepting. Even if you really want to build a side hustle or a business or achieve financial freedom, sometimes you still might not know what you want to do. And that might be because you haven't learned enough about the different types of side hustles you can do. Click here to discover the 3 laziest but realistic side hustles you can start today.